right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fanatically Speaking. I'm Kent, the co-host and promoter.
I am Logoff, the Logoff legend, the hater of all things social media. I am the co-host and producer of the show.
And after a quick break from the NFL, our one NBA episode, we're right back to the NFL because we got to talk about these conference championship games that just happened last weekend and do a little Super Bowl preview. And what it all means, those games that happened, the conference championships, and what this all means on what the possibilities of this, what could be the outcome of a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, it was I enjoyed the games over the weekend. I mean, the thing that makes the NFL so great, and it's so much bigger than other sports, is because the games are so huge. They get massive ratings. They get big numbers. The world kind of stops, in a lot of ways. And it's one game, 3 hours, and the fate of a franchise is resting on that one game, and the outcome of it. It's nothing else like it in sports. I mean, you could try to say like March Madness and, the NBA and in a lot of ways, college football playoffs somewhat, but the NFL is just different. It's next level. So, man, I'm ready to get into it. Let's see what we can do.
Okay. So if we look back at the conference championship games, let's start with the Broncos and the Patriots.
Okay. All right. Now, hold on. Now, stay consistent. Remember what you said about this game. And I can't remember if you said it on air or if you just said it to me. Remember what you said about the Broncos, and remember what you said about Jared Stidham.
Yeah, okay. You might have to remind me. I don't know what I said.
You said you did not care about the Broncos and Jared Stidham, and you did not want to see them win in advance.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. And I don't remember if we recorded that or we texted that or what we talked about.
I think we were just talking. I think that was right after the show.
Maybe we were just talking. Yeah. I did not want to see that, right? And I think you were like, well, what if he lights it up and they win it? And then it would have been like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that'd make it more interesting that he, the one game that he's played well in his life was the biggest one, would be in his career.
In that weather. It would have been an all-time performance if he pulled it off. Unfortunately, he didn't. But
true.
Yeah, I mean, because he was cooking early.
He looked formidable. Right?
He did.
Tony Romo was, as the kids say, glazing the hell out of him.
Oh yeah, he was.
But on everything that he did, but he looked okay, and then he also looked like there's a reason why he's the backup, right? And again, in the weather's a different story, right? I mean, if anyone would have scored a touchdown in the weather, you'd have been like, well, that's the ball game. You know what I mean? It would have been over. And I think, and I texted you as well with the I was like, man, if this thing goes to overtime, they could play forever.
That was a really good point, too. Well, yeah, because they got to play until somebody scores, yeah.
Yeah, and that weather was getting so bad. I'm like, if they tie it up, I mean, we could just look at a bunch of bad punts and bad field goal misses and slippery. It could be just ugly. And they may play until halftime of the next game. So luckily that didn't happen because I don't know that I could have watched it. It wouldn't even have been suspenseful for me. But yeah, so we lucked out. We're not going to get Jared Stidham. We're going to get the Drake May and the New England Patriots as they pulled it out 10-7. And again, really the game was about 3 quarters, and it was still boring because the Broncos defense, which has been really good all season, was really good. Drake May did not, he looked shaky. They got the benefit of a Jarrett Stidham turnover to give them about 10 yards to score, which they did. So props to them for scoring off the turnover. That's going to come in key again. And then, it was coaching decision, right? A lot's been made of Sean Payton not kicking the field goal, going for it. And a lot could be said to that. And again, Tony Romo did say something smart on TV. He did say, like, you got to get points. And in this game with the backup, I don't know about the weather at the time, if they knew what was coming. but I know he just was like, hey, you got to get points when they're there. And Sean Payton didn't do that, and it cost him. But yeah, it was just an ugly game. You could call it a defensive battle. I would call it more, pretty good defenses. Pretty good defense. But again, you're talking about a backup, and he showed. He had, I think, the one big pass for about 54 yards that set them up, and then after that, it was pretty mediocre. And like I said, then when the weather came, that was basically like whoever's winning then. But I believe the Broncos had a field goal blocked that it looked like it would have went in, and that was in the snow. And then I think both teams missed a few field goals. So it was one of the least impressive conference championship games I've watched in a while.
That may be true. It wasn't anybody's fault though, and
well, not in the fourth quarter.
No. I don't think. Well, no. I mean, just in terms of how bad the game turned out, I'm not putting that on any. Like, there's no one's fault. And
no, it just turned out that way.
Yeah, it just ended that way, and the weather certainly didn't help. But my thing, and I know this is what sports is, and here I am. I always. To no disrespect to anybody, anyone on the planet. I always feel like the adult in the room when the game is over, because the first thing people do is try to, find the person to blame for the reason for the loss. And,
True.
So the Sean Payton thing, I actually did send that to you at the beginning of the game. At the very end of the game, I'm like, yeah, Sean Payton's kicking himself out that field goal. And I'm sorry for not taking that field goal in the first half. And this is the main reason. I don't have a problem with you going forward on fourth down when you're that close and you're in your red zone, and you may be able to steal some points, but you don't do it with a backup. Like, if you had your starting quarterback, even Bo Nix as an inexperienced playoff quarterback, I'm fine, because that dude has been in those types of situations all year. You got Jared Stidham, who is your starting backup quarterback in a game, to go to the fucking Super Bowl. Like, what are you thinking? And I know Sean Payton said and did all the right things leading up to the game. After the game, I'm going to give him credit. He was as professional as you could be. But the thing that disturbed me the most was when Jared Stidham started doing Jared Stidham type things. I don't think Sean Payton did what a head coach is supposed to do, is reel that guy in. Because we got to talk about the backward pass / fumble thing. It was so wonky and weird looking. And by the way, I thought it was an incomplete pass. I'm just going to say that. It didn't look like it went backward to me. So maybe it was a bad angle, and I know they did the overhead shot and they did the side shot. To me, it looked like a forward pass, intentional grounding, whatever. But the thing that bothered me about it is it was such an unnatural quarterback thing to do. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Like, if I'm the head coach in that situation, I might have hit you in the face with a clipboard the second you got to the sideline. I would have hit you in the face with one of those iPads that they be, looking at plays and stuff on. I don't know what he was doing. It was so bizarre. That's one thing. And then, obviously, the interception that he threw, I don't know who the hell he was throwing the ball to. I don't know why he thought throwing a duck in that type of weather with that into triple coverage was a good idea, but he just floated the ball up there, nowhere near the sideline. His receiver didn't even have a shot, gets picked off, and it's like, all right, so, what the hell are we doing? I also put that on Sean Payton too, mainly because you don't even give him a position, put him in position to throw that pass, to throw it that poorly, to have it intercepted to begin with. So chance after chance, I think the game kind of flipped on those three decisions. It was the lack of going for a field goal. It was the two-handed chest pass that he threw. The chest pass that he threw, and then that duck just floating the ball up there. And I mean, it felt like it was in the air for 20 minutes. But, hats off to New England. They didn't make the mistakes that that a young team could make with a young quarterback. And, they held their own, and they were able to, to punch their ticket to go to the Super Bowl, winning a road game in those type of weather conditions. And I take my hat off to them. So, obviously, I mean, we got to look at who their opposition in the Super Bowl is going to be.
Yeah, I was just gonna I was just gonna piggyback on a few things you mentioned there. Like, yeah, the shovel pass to nobody. The only problem, again, that's that inexperience, and that's that deer in the headlights moment for them. I just didn't like. You said you thought it was an incomplete pass. The biggest thing was the refs. They let the play run out, and then they went and said an incomplete pass. I'm like, well, if it was an incomplete pass, then you blow it dead.
Yeah, blow it dead, and they don't even give the defense an opportunity to scoop the ball up and run it back for a touchdown.
So the refs nearly screwed the Patriots because they had to spot it where it happened because they ruled it wrong.
But we can't. We're not going to do that because the Patriots went right down and scored like they should have.
I get it. I just want to say again, refereeing in the NFL, I'm like, that's basic right there. Is blow the whistle. And if you read Vrabel's lips to the referee, he said, again, he was like, yeah, blow the effing whistle. Like, what are we doing here? So that was my thought on that play. And then, I thought, like you said, we talked about the field goal, not trying to field goal and just going for it. And you're exactly right on that. You don't do that with a backup. Get points when you can.
3 easy points right there for you.
Yeah, just get points. Yeah, and then the duck ball, I just thought it was way too soon to throw it up. I thought at some point maybe because, it is snow and maybe you get a defender to fall and miracles happen. But at that point, I thought it was way too early to do that. I thought just, they should have been throwing like short passes, trying to gain yards and do whatever they can to get as close as possible for a field goal or whatever. So that's all I got on that. Yeah, so they will play they play the winner of the NFC, and that game was the Seahawks and the Rams in Seattle. Another close game, perfect weather, and it really came down to a turnover, and the Seahawks cashed in on that turnover. Dude for the Rams, I don't even know his name. He barely dropped one punt, and then managed to catch another one, and then that one he tripped on his own feet, fell down, and obviously disaster. Set up the Seahawks, and again, like the Patriots, the Seahawks cashed in, scored. Credit to them, right? You get the ball that close on a turnover, punch it in for a touchdown, and they did exactly that. And then ultimately the game came down to the Rams having the ball on the 6-yard line and 3rd and 4, and they ran 2 plays where they threw into the end zone. And neither pass went to Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua. And that ultimately cost the Rams. They had a golden opportunity to take the lead, put a lot of pressure on Seattle, and they didn't do it. And I don't think they should have kicked a field goal there because, again, I don't think their defense was going to stop Seattle. So I don't mind them going for it. It was just, throw to your best. When the game's on the line, a trip to the Super Bowl, go to the guys, go the all-time great Devontae Adams and go to top 5 receiver right now, Puka Nacua, who catches about everything. Just throw it up. If you're going to throw it up, just throw it up to one of them. So, and the Seahawks won, if you didn't know. They, Sam Darnold overcame so far. Well, he hasn't overcame his ghost yet, but he has overcome some things, right, to get past the Rams, who blasted them last year in the playoffs, and just to prove a lot of doubters wrong, including myself. But I did say in the previous episode, I am starting to believe more and more in Sam Darnold.
Okay. It was funny. You started this off saying that, Seahawks Rams was in perfect weather. Yeah. The interesting thing is not only was it perfect weather, it was perfect quarterbacks. Because both Darnold and Stafford were cooking. Both of them had 3 touchdowns. Both of them threw for almost 350 yards. Stafford threw for 374. Neither of them threw an interception. Darnold fumbled the ball once, was able to scoop it up, no big deal. Sam Darnold was only sacked 3 times. Stafford only sacked once. And interesting thing, I don't know if you noticed this, their quarterback ratings for the game were almost identical.
I do know that. Yeah.
Yeah, 127.8 for Darnold, 127.6 for Stafford. Like, it was insane, right? So you sit there and you look at the game, and I know it was a back and forth game, but 2 things really stood out to me. One, I know you kind of co-signed them going for the touchdown at the end there. I thought they should have kicked the field goal. Now, the reason why is for the very reason that we saw the end result to the game. And the fourth quarter, when they got the ball back and they were just trying to advance the ball down to score because they needed 6 points, they were moving the ball pretty easily. Now, the coverage was soft just to kind of just not to give up the big play. So the DBs and the safeties were back. Linebackers are playing off. The linemen press forward. And Puka was able to make that catch going to the sideline. Knee lands inbounds, clock runs out, no big deal. However, if you give them those same possessions and all they got to do is get in field goal range, I trust Matthew Stafford to be able to do it. So now you get those 6 points. You get that field goal that they would have gotten in the previous possession. And then you give your kicker, even if he's got to kick a 70-yarder to win it, you still give him an opportunity to get you those 3 points to be able to get the win. So that's just that's here nor there. But in my eyes, it's like you're that close. Yeah, you're down by 1 point. Your defense has been great. You've been able to slow everything down. And the second thing that was the most glaring to me was no points were scored in the fourth quarter other than that. So the Rams, in a lot of ways, figured out Seattle. They figured out how to stop them from scoring. Both defenses gave up 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, everything came to a halt. Everybody bunkered down, and they were playing lights out defense on both sides. Even with the Rams making their way down, the Seahawks made that stop. And I think you got to kind of read it's like, hey, you got an opportunity to score. There was the timeout situation. I think McVay was kind of kicking himself, because they had to use some timeouts earlier in the half. But at the same time, go ahead.
Yeah, he used one to think about challenging the spot of a ball.
Well, and that's another thing. There was a lot of second guessing that went on. And by the way, I don't think he would have won that spot anyway. But just based on the fact that they called it. You mentioned it. You've been mentioning this all years. Are these games about the players and the coaches, or are these games about the refs? The refs aren't going to admit a lot of fault, and especially in a situation like that where the world is watching. They called it on the field, and it was too close. And even if it was a millimeter where they were off and they could have overturned it, they probably wouldn't have. It got to be irrefutable evidence for them to go against a call that was made on the field.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that, I think that they should have just went ahead and just took it and said, you know what, we're going to trust our defense. And if the Seahawks were to come down and score, or if the Seahawks were to come down, and that's another thing, they stopped Seattle, and all Seattle would have had to do was get in the field goal range and kick the ball to win. But at some point, the Rams may have gotten the ball back earlier, and then they still only would have been down by 7. And then it still would have given them an opportunity to have a much more of a clock, bigger field with more time on it. So that way they can get the ball down and maybe score a touchdown. Then it puts you in the situation where do you kick the field goal tight and go into OT? Or do you go for 2 to go to the Super Bowl? So it just, I don't know. It was a great game.
I got you.
It was a great game. We talked about it. I think every single game that they played this year, 3 games, obviously they're 2 division matchups. And then this game, I think it was a difference of 6 or 7 points total with all games combined. That was the margin of victory for both teams. So, hats off to Seattle, man. They did everything they needed to do. And I'm going to revisit some things about Sam Darnold at the end of the show that I don't think again, I'm going to kind of come out of nowhere with some takes on this. But he did what he needed to do to win the game. He didn't damage them. And I don't know if he kind of got rid of the, just kind of the ghosts of Sam Darnold, but he hung in there and he showed that he can be a starting quarterback for a team. I bet Minnesota's kicking themselves right now that they let that man go. I'm sure there's other teams in the NFL, the Panthers, the Jets that let that man go. And it shows you what can happen when you have a coaching staff and a team. And I'm going to give credit to that locker room, dude. They have galvanized. It's been hard on Sam Darnold all year. It's been tough for him. Even with all the winning they've been doing, the only negative on that entire team all season has been Darnold. All the trash talking has been on Darnold.
Yeah.
And the turnovers have been an issue. So I'm not saying that, it's not for good measure. He's earned that reputation as a being a turnover prone quarterback. But they've wrapped their arms around him and was like, no, that's our dude. And, luckily it's paid off, man. And it's gotten them to a playoff berth. I'm sorry, Super Bowl berth.
For sure. I think the Vikings are probably kicking themselves the most because they had success with Sam Darnold and let him walk.
And I want to say, what did they win last year? What did they win, like 13 games last year?
They won 14.
14. That's what I mean. Clearly what was happening. And listen, and now, and I know, Ken, I know that there's a lot of things that come into that. They wanted to. It was 1 year.
Yeah.
And he had to get paid. Like you had to break him off. So it's like, so do we hitch our wagon to this guy? They chose not to. And yeah, I bet they're regretting it right now.
Yeah, they're the teams kicking themselves. No, nothing works for the New York Jets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tom Brady could clone himself like he did his dog and come back as a 20-year-old with the Jets, and he would still not lead them anywhere. Yeah, the Jets are, and the Panthers are the Panthers. It just didn't work. They were going through a lot of transition from being a winning football team to not, to whatever they, were at the time. Coaching changes, quarterback, changes. So I get it. Yeah, so looking to the Super Bowl without making picks, I've been looking at some stats to say, okay, how does this match up, and also been hearing some stuff talking about, Drake May had an easy path, Well, Sam Darnold kind of did too. I mean, he didn't have like the Rams are a really good team. They're a really good offense. I even admitted their defense is not great. They're pretty good. The 49ers were decimated. So you could argue that Sam Darnold, and not Sam Darnold so much, but the Seahawks had an easy path to the Super Bowl. At the same time, they earned that easy path because they were the 1 seed. You get home field advantage. You get a bye. You only had to play 2 games. So that's a part of the deal, right? So that's not a knock on them. But RG3 put out there about the Patriots. They had 3 games to get to the Super Bowl. They played the Chargers, top 5 defense, number 5 actually. The Texans, the number 1 defense, and the Broncos, the number 2 defense. Now they're faced with the Seahawks, another top 5 defense, right? And I don't have the exact number of where they're at, but I know they're in the top 5, right? They're up there. So
the interesting thing is, I actually thought the Seahawks was the number 1 defense in the NFC. So I think he was mentioning like the defenses within the conferences. Okay. But you're right. Yeah,
Seahawks, but either way, right?
Yeah, we know they kill. Yeah, the Seahawks, they're killers. Yeah, I'm with you.
But if you match up and you look at their defense, yards per game, things like that, passing, rushing, both team Patriots, Seahawks have pretty even defenses. Offenses, pretty even too. It's minimal, right? Like
slight
one
differences.
Slight, like one, like Seattle defense is like slightly better than New England, but they're right there. I think New England's offense is like slightly better than Seattle. It's just like they're really tight there, right? The special teams, Seattle is better. Turnovers, New England is better. We talk about Drake May has the fumbles. He likes to fumble, but he doesn't lose, right? I think he doesn't lose a lot of them. Yeah. Where Sam Darnold, a lot of interceptions, a lot of turnovers. Does that come into play in this Super Bowl, right? Because Darnold's considered going to be the veteran in the Super Bowl. Both are, high draft picks meant to, carry their teams. Obviously, Darnold's now on his 5th team, so it's taken a while. Like we mentioned, all the teams and all the turnover. He just had to find his spot. And right now it's working. So I consider him the veteran. Obviously, Drake May, it's his 2nd year. But I believe both will have the Super Bowl nerves. It's really just a tough matchup at the moment when you're looking at it. At the moment, like I said, I'm glad we're not making picks at the moment right now because I think I got to look into it a little more. I am leaning one way, but I'm not going to mention that. But I'm just saying they're pretty even matchups. So it's an interesting Super Bowl. I think the biggest thing that I think we sent that to. I mean, it's crazy to think that Sam Darnold out of that draft class made it to a Super Bowl before Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. That's crazy to me because this Seattle team's good, but think about those Buffalo Bill teams. Think about those Baltimore Ravens teams. Hell, even Baker had, a few years of good Tampa Bay Buccaneers teams. So it's kind of crazy. It's just it's a weird NFL season, and this is just kind of a part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I could see that. My bigger thing, and just in terms of the matchup, and you're right. I'm leaning. I know exactly who I'm going to pick to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say it, but I know who I got win the Super Bowl, and to me, it's super easy. Like it's not much of a question.
Yeah,
we'll dive into that in another episode. But
yeah.
The other thing is, I think just kind of like you said, in terms of the matchups, the defenses are solid for both teams. I'd still give the edge to Seattle's defense over New England's, but you still got you've got 2 quarterbacks that you've got questions about, and the one thing that was rampant this entire NFL season was there was a lot of comeback wins for a lot of teams, and I was actually looking into that. There was one week, I think it was like the first week in October, where there were 6 double-digit comebacks in 1 week in the NFL. And it's been a lot of them. Like, it's been a lot of teams down 12, teams down 13, teams down 17, and then they end up losing. End up coming back to win it. Fourth quarter comebacks, they have a huge second half, and, we've seen that with a lot of teams where it's like you come out of the locker room at halftime. We know in the Super Bowl, really long halftime, teams actually practice with the long gap due to the halftime show. And the funny thing is, I think that's going to be that the double-digit comebacks are going to be an outlier. I think if a team goes up by 10, 12, I don't care who they are, I think they trust their defenses so much that no matter what, if you're Seattle, you know what? Bring the house. Let's see what the kids got. If you're the Patriots and you go up by 13, bring the house. Let's see if Sam Darnold's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just make it such a ugly, messy, nasty game, and not even to the point where it's like you're getting sacks, but you're just getting pressures and you're making contact with them. You're just getting them rattled. It's like, yeah, man, you just got hit 5 times in a quarter in the Super Bowl. Get up, dust yourself off. What you gonna do? So to me, that's kind of what stood out the most to me. Looking at the matchup on paper, I think it's something interesting to where if a team goes up, I can see it getting out of hand, and it won't be a back and forth type game. I want to say it may be reminiscent to, kind of Eagles Chiefs, where it was the same thing where it's like, oh, we know the Chiefs O-line isn't that great, But the Eagles are like, you know what? We're going to go up, and now it's like we're going to unleash the Cooper DeJean show. And we're just going to start laying the wood and start forcing the mistakes. And, here goes the interception. Kelsey's dropping passes. There goes the fumble. I think that's what's going to happen. But it really could go either way if a team goes up big. And I think the score could get out of hand pretty early, probably leading into halftime.
You say you think it can get out of hand?
I think if a team goes up by double digits, I don't see them letting up. Because that's another thing that happens, and you have to understand. Like in Super Bowls, typically teams try to play it safe. Like you start running the ball. I mean, just think about it. If the Seahawks are having success, you think they're going to stop throwing the puka? You know what I'm saying? I don't see it.
So just looking at the two teams' schedule this year, neither one got blown out. They're all, they have a combined 6 losses. They both are 14-3. One just happened to get the 1 seed. The other got the 2 in their respective conferences. But they didn't get blown out. All their losses were within a score. So obviously the Super Bowl, anything can happen.
I would put my money on if a team goes up, the first team to go up by double digits
is going to hold on.
And not even hold on, but I see them pour. I got my foot on your neck.
Yeah,
pouring it on.
I try. Like I said, I've been trying to match these teams up and say, okay, with this team's quarterback, running back, defense, this, that, and the other. You speak of that long halftime. Again, Mike Vrabel, he played in Super Bowls, so he's all about that. He's going to know how to coach the Patriots to get ready for that. That's an advantage for them. Again, I mentioned special teams. I mean, if Shaheed breaks loose, that could be a game changer. That could be that's really something to watch out for. That's the thing about Seattle. Again, they can just, if Sam Darnold don't Sam Darnold, they can really, get you. They can really beat you in every phase of the game, and that's what is going to be really important to watch. And again, turnovers. Again, Sam Darnold turns the ball over, but I believe the Seahawks defense has more turnovers than the Patriots. So, like I said, it's really balanced. It's really close.
Super balanced, really close. And to your point, to your point, that's what I mean about a team going up big. You bring that pressure. Yeah, because you got them in a position where they can't run the ball, and if Drake May's fumble, like you mentioned, the fumbles. I mean, he's been it's been grace of God that he hasn't been losing those fumbles, and they've turned into turnovers. Yeah, you can't take those chances in the Super Bowl. We talked about Sam Darnold's turnover issues all year, which is why people didn't have faith in him. If the Patriots go up and they start bringing that heat, and he starts making those flimsy-ass passes get tipped at the line of scrimmage, he's getting hit on the release. That's all I'm saying. I can just that's just how I see it. But I think it'll be a great game either way. I don't think it's going to be a dud. Like, I think this is going to be a banger-ass Super Bowl we got.
I really do. I really do, too. And like I said, just talking about the quarterbacks again, if Drake May plays like he just did, which people can say, oh, well, he didn't play great. And it's like, well, the weather, whatever. And he didn't play. He didn't play as great or as good as he's been all season, right, to be most likely the runner-up for the MVP. But he didn't turn the ball over. I don't even think he had a moment where it was like almost a turnover, right? And in Denver, against that defense, even in the weather, Drake May protected the ball way better than he had in the previous 2 playoff games. And then we talked about how great Sam Darnold was. So, if you get those two where Sam Darnold is playing like that, Drake May's not turning the ball over, I still have the advantage on, one way, but still it's just such a toss-up. But, it's going to be – I know Seattle wants to win in that stadium because that's San Francisco. So, they'll have a little motivation. There's always motivation, extra, find that extra motivation to win. But like you said, no picks today. Just that'll be coming next week, and we'll narrow it down to an exact pick and our reasoning.
Picks and scores.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm ready. Like I said, I already got it. I don't even have to put any thought into it, man. I already got it. Unless something changes, unless something falls from the sky.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm leaning away. We just don't want to give it out too early.
I ain't giving it out yet.
We're going to give it out Super Bowl week. All right, what do you want? Let's go to something else, a hot story. What you got?
Oh, for me?
Yeah, what do you want next? Which hot story?
I mean, if we want to talk about, the if we want to talk about the Pro Bowl spot that Sheduer Sanders has earned, if you want to go there, we can go there. Yeah,
let's talk about it.
Okay. So I saw it came through the group chat. I didn't know until it came through the group chat. You gave kind of some of your thoughts and opinions on it. Mine is all flames. So, but I am curious to hear what it is you have to say, and it's nothing negative, by the way. So I'm more curious what your insight on that is.
So first, a friend of mine on Facebook posted about this, and I'm not going to quote it word for word. I can't remember it word for word, but it basically said, I wasn't planning on watching the Pro Bowl, and then I saw the news that Sheduer Sanders was selected to play.
Okay, now wait a minute. Now, I want you to keep in mind when it hit the group chat, isn't that exactly what I said?
Yeah. And then he said, since this is the news, I still don't plan on watching the Pro Bowl. Which is my thoughts exactly. So, so that's my thoughts. It's like, it was weird, but I started looking and thinking, well, like I said, guys, they choose not to play in it all the time now. They say, they're like either had a long playoff run, their body's tired. They don't, not even if it's flag football, they don't want to play. And then I found out, they keep bringing up Trevor Lawrence. Well, he chose not to go. I also learned in the Pro Bowl they pick 3 and then they have 4 alternates. Well, everybody's hurt, from Bo Nix to Mahomes to Daniel Jones, and then Lawrence said no. So you was kind of stuck with Herbert and Allen. And then, I started looking at stats and we're like, well, statistically, and I don't know if they asked anybody else. I just said, statistically, like, who else could they have asked besides Sheduer Sanders? And again, by the way, we're fans of Sheduer. Me and you both are. It's just weird to see him be picked for the Pro Bowl with his numbers and being a rookie. And so, again, I look and I'm like, Aaron Rodgers had better numbers, better season. Even C.J. Stroud. Even rookie top pick Cam Ward had better numbers. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Hell, I even put in Joe Flacco. And then I was like I told y'all, not good, but better numbers. And, I mean, we'd have still said something. But if Geno Smith or Tua Tagovailoa got it picked, I think we'd have been like, well, it's not a great pick. But, I mean, at least they have more touchdowns than interceptions. And again, I don't want to sound negative, but again, when you're talking about something like this, and it matters. It matters. It goes on your, again, it's like we talked about All-Star game with the NBA. I mean, Pro Bowl, it goes on your resume forever to say you are a Pro Bowler. So it says, I think, more about the Pro Bowl game and the process, and like we talked, these All-Star games, the process, and it is an exhibition. It is for the fans. And again, if that's the case, then obviously, having Sheduer there, bringing some energy to the flag football game will be fun.
Yeah, it will, and it'll definitely have more eyes. I bet it'll be the one of the higher rated Pro Bowls in recent years. I'm confident in saying that. And, to the point that you made in terms of, being a Pro Bowler and it going on the resume, I am going to backtrack a little bit to something that we talked about the last episode when we were talking about the NBA All-Star games and all that stuff. I think the accolades have faded in terms of what are the shiny golden achievements of an athlete's career. Much like an all-star appearance in the NBA, Same thing has faded with Pro Bowl appearances in the NFL. It just is what it is. The games just aren't as important as they used to be. The players for either sport don't take them as seriously as they should. And the respect that they used to get, they don't get from the fans, the players, the organizations. No one cares. So now if he was made the all-pro team, I think people would start flipping over tables and chairs. And we know that's not going to happen. But for him to get the Pro Bowl nod, like it's a television event, it's a spectacle. It's like you said, it's a fan event, and he is a controversial quarterback for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
That being said, my perspective on Sheduer Sanders making the Pro Bowl doesn't have anything to do with him actually being at the Pro Bowl or participating in the Pro Bowl. Sheduer Sanders other than him being a late round quarterback pick, he was very popular as a player. He was very popular in college. He had a lot of eyes on him. A lot of people were shocked that he fell in the draft the way that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing he did is he gets to Cleveland, and he gets humbled by the league. He gets humbled by the front office. He gets humbled by the coaching staff, to the point where people were, doing full-on dissertations and triptychs and science projects on why is it that Sheduer Sanders isn't the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Everyone kind of the perception was that the team didn't want him to do well, to the point where we know where he got picked in the 5th round. And he's getting the prank phone calls and all that saying he's getting picked, it was bad. But what I want to do is I want to take everything that I just said about Sheduer, other than the fact that he was a 5th round pick, and I am going to mention him in the same breath as a quarterback that is starting in the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks, and that's Sam Darnold. Sheduer's track record is starting off the same way Sam Darnold's did. Coaches don't believe in you. Dude, you're not that good. We don't think you can win in this league. To the point where the dude's been shipped around and moved around, stayed afoot, kept his head on straight, stayed likable. As bad as a quarterback as Sam Darnold has been, nobody said any bad words about him as a player. I just went off about how much that locker room loves Sam Darnold, even through his mistakes and his potential inefficiencies. He's not a perfect quarterback, but he found a way to make it to a team in his first year with the Seahawks. And yeah, he's riding a great defense, but you saw those stats that dude put up a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. Sheduer Sanders should be looking at Sam Darnold and say, you know what, man, I can do that. Let me stay the track. Stop making it about everything else that you're doing. This league will give you opportunities if people like you. Now, I don't think anybody has loved Sam Darnold. I don't know all these people walking around with Sam Darnold jerseys, but he wasn't hated either. He wasn't hated. The only people who didn't believe in him were the people whose jobs were on the line, which were the coaches, which is the same thing you could say about Sheduer. We can sit here and talk about, Stefanski all day. Yeah. He felt like he would have had to hitch his wagon to whether or not Sheduer was successful or not. So I think this is this should be a gigantic sign for Sheduer, because I'm not going to go tit for tat and say who's more talented as a quarterback. But I think the things that Sam Darnold is doing, if Sheduer was to stay on the track and work hard and understand what it is that it takes to be a starting franchise quarterback in the NFL, he could do the same thing that Sam Darnold did. But all the extra stuff has to go out the window. Just go play ball, man. Yeah. Go play ball. Make sure that locker room loves you. Do what you can to get along with your coaches. Be coachable. And step outside of being Deion's son. And you'll have an opportunity just like this. But you got to go out there and get it. Because we can say whatever we want to about Sam Darnold. That dude earned this spot. He earned what he got, what he's gonna represent starting for the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. He went out and got that shit.
Yeah.
Let's see if Sheduer has that in him, because I don't know if he does. Show me. Let me see if you've got that in you.
Yeah, and since you're comparing and a little bit of the path that Sheduer is going to have to take, I think it'll take Sheduer having to get out of Cleveland too.
I agree with you. And by the way, if we're being honest with one another, he's got maybe 1 or 2 more years there.
It just depends. I mean, they're looking for a head coach. They still haven't hired one. It's not like the greatest job in the world because it is the Browns. So I don't know that they're getting the best of the best candidates coming in. I've read where some guys have turned it down, and it is what it is. They are what they are. They operate the way they operate. So
hey Kent, if you want to make these correlations, this is really too easy. Yeah. If you want to name the 2 worst franchises in the NFL, who are you going to name? You're going to name the Browns and the Jets.
It's the Browns and the Jets. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why
the correlations are there.
Yeah, they're both doo-doo. And we know that. And I sent the text today and, about Aaron Glenn has fired 7 assistants because all his coaching staff is the blame that they suck this year. So,
everybody else. Yeah. It's always the finger pointing.
I was like, it's just, I'm not going to go on a rant on this. It was just funny that, one, he kept his job, and that's cool, even though they were just the worst team in the NFL besides the Raiders, who fired their head coach for being bad after 1 season. But it's funny, like, you normally see coaches point the finger, right? They'll be like, I'm going to get rid of this coordinator or this guy, right? Because that was the problem, which he did that during the season when he fired Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator. And then in the offseason, he continues to fire just everybody. I'm like, so the guys you hired, like almost your entire coaching staff were the problem, but you didn't have a hand in it? I got you. But the Jets are going to Jets. The Browns are going to Browns. And like I said, I think if Sheduer is going to make that step to be like a Sam Darnold, even a Baker Mayfield who made it out of Cleveland, right, and got kicked around a little bit before he found success, not to the Super Bowl success. But like you said, I think that's another good example of Sheduer following the footsteps of like a Baker Mayfield, who just keep your head down, keep playing. If you change coaches, coordinators, just keep doing. You work hard. Again, get rid of the other stuff. Like you said, everybody likes Sam Darnold. I think he's a likable guy. I don't think he's ever given. He just given us the quote that he was seeing Ghost. And I brought that up because he's playing the Patriots, and that was the team he was seeing Ghost against. So, he's overcome all that. And, I think Sheduer, like I said, his path, I think, will not come in Cleveland unless they hire Deion Sanders as their head coach. That would just make them more interesting to me. I think it'll have to happen somewhere else, and he'll have to find his right fit, right coach, right team, right system to do that. But like you said, just work hard.
Well, there's one simple thing that Sheduer could do, and he could just follow in the footsteps of those that came before him. The only thing he needs to do to have a resurgence and a successful career is to promptly leave the Cleveland Browns and sign his contract with the Carolina Panthers, because that's what happened with Sam Darnold, and that's what happened with Baker Mayfield. Yeah, so if he becomes, and I don't know what's going to happen with Bryce Young, who knows? He had a great year this year, but that seems to be the ticket. It's like, hey man, leave your terrible team and come sign with the Panthers, and then after that, you'll get some success.
They will turn you into a winner.
They'll turn you into a winner after you leave.
Just for somebody else.
Yeah, for somebody else. Yeah, and Tepper won't be able to reap the benefits of that. But, man, I want to see the kid do well. Personality matters in the NFL. And, you just don't see a lot of outwardly cocky, arrogant quarterbacks that make it. It's not a lot of them, and there's a reason for that, because the league will humble you. I've said that before. So hopefully Sheduer keeps his head on straight, keeps working, and gets better. And I do think he'll naturally get better as he understands. He'll probably have a slump this year, because most quarterback sophomore slumps, it happens. And we saw that in Washington this year, where it's like your quarterbacks are going to have issues in the second year when people start to figure you out. But, stay consistent.
Yeah.
Work hard. We'll see what happens for him. But yeah, if his agent gives him a call and say, "Hey man, the Panthers are looking at picking you up," I think he should sign that without even looking at the numbers.
All right, so let's go to one more topic, one that hits home for us because we're patiently waiting. Do you have any takes or thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles not being able to hire offensive coordinator yet? Like 13 candidates. That's a lot for an OC job.
So I think there's a lot of things that come into play. I think so there, and I'll rattle them off. I'm not going to sit here and break everything down. There's
Right.
culture
No.
fit, meaning culture fit within the organization and the front office. There's culture fit with Sirianni as a head coach. Again, he's a firecracker, man. He's not for everybody, but the guy wins games. There's also the trickiness of Jalen Hurts being your starting quarterback. We don't know what's going to happen with A.J. Brown. There's a lot of things that are just kind of question marks, and I actually give them credit for waiting to see who is the best fit for how the season's going to pan out coming next year. We want the good name. We want the nice name. I mean, Mike McDaniel would have been a great hire. I don't think anybody would have scoffed at that. We know he can call offenses, but I don't know what it is specifically that they're looking at. Going through all the candidates doesn't really alarm me. To me, it just shows that they're actually going through their due diligence and they're trying to find somebody that's a good fit, because you could have just thrown some money at anybody and just given them, a job. We know that Hurts has had what is it? 6 OCs, 7 OCs since college. Including college. Every year he has to learn a new offensive system. He's getting his plays called from someone new. There's options for him. I think he should step into the room and say, guys, you guys got to give me some stability here. I understand this is the game. And, they let Kellen Moore go. If I was them, I would have done whatever I could to keep Kellen Moore in that building. Like, we saw the success that he had, and clearly he's going to do some good things in New Orleans. But I'm not going to point the finger at anybody. I'm not that rattled by it. I think they're taking their time trying to make the right decision, and it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you. Honestly, I think you just want it to be over. I think you just want to know who it is so that you can sleep better at night.
Well, that, and when your team gets knocked out of the playoffs, it's like, okay, what's next for us? You know what I mean? Like I'm on to, like, I'm still watching the playoffs and the Super Bowl and all that, and obviously have our takes. But obviously, as an Eagles fan, waiting on what's next for our team.
But it's only been a couple of. But it's only been a couple. It's not April.
Yeah, but I'm just patiently waiting, man. I just want to know who's going to be running this offense. Which I told someone, I'm like, if they've ever called plays or been an offensive coordinator, they're already better than Kevin Patullo because they know how to call plays. They've done the job. So anybody, to me, has done it on at an NFL level, I'm okay with, actually. But like you said, you brought up, I think Sirianni's a big part of it. Of the, what does the OC? What can he control? What can he not? You mentioned Kellen Moore. I mean, he got a head coaching job. You can't fault him there. Same thing happened with Shane Steichen. So I think also Sirianni's trying to, like you said, the team. But I think Sirianni, because this is now the second time that they've had to go through this where, again, he promoted a guy, it didn't work out, and you got to get it right. And he did get it right with Kellen Moore. They won a Super Bowl. But now it's happened again.
So let's do this.
I think.
Hold on, let's do this. I'm just gonna put you on the spot, and because I know we're running low on time, and give me who do you want him to get? Give me the name. Give me the name.
Well, I'm saying
the guy you want.
Well, originally I said Brian Daboll, but now he's going to be an OC in Tennessee. Okay, which is weird.
Well, right now. So realistically, of who's available, who do you want?
Ooh, I don't even know. Out of the names that have come out lately,
I mean, the Broncos just fired Joe Lombardi. You want Joe Lombardi? Okay.
No.
I mean,
as much as,
do you want Jim Leonard?
Out of the names that are out there now that haven't like turned us down or backed out or whatever the case, right? I mean, for fun, it would be fun to always say Jim Bob Cooter, but
That's such a great name.
But
that's such a good name.
And I think and if they hire him, that's fine. Like he's been an offensive coordinator in this league, and you give him the talent that the Eagles have, I think he'll do fine. Matt Nagy, I think, is top of my list, and I know I've heard about the Chiefs' offense, this, that, and the other. Look, he was on that staff for 2 Super Bowls. He coached the Chicago Bears. He wasn't that bad with the Bears, right? He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. I think he had a winning record. So he knows how to coach. Again, he had Patrick Mahomes. He had that team with the Chiefs as an OC involved in the offense. I think Matt Nagy would be great. And again, all the stuff, you hear like there's like issues also with that's my name, Matt Nagy. But I want to get back to like Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach. They say he's involved in the run game and he don't want to give that up. And you brought up Jalen Hurts. I don't want to listen to anything about these people talking about Jalen Hurts, that these guys don't want to work with Jalen Hurts, right? Like we've mentioned before, go look at his resume, go look at what he's done. It's amazing, right? Like we talk about if Jalen Hurts would have played like some of these guys in the playoffs recently, the criticism he would have got. Again, we've seen him play in 2 Super Bowls. We've seen him ball out in 2 Super Bowls, one in which he won. He was the MVP. You could argue he was the MVP in the one he lost. Again, he can throw downfield. He can do what he can do. Get an offensive coordinator that knows how to call plays. Look at those plays the Seahawks were drawing up, right? They were drawing up plays the other night that it didn't involve like super great route running. It was like a diversion route where the defense didn't know who to cover and one guy ended up wide open. That's the kind of stuff we need, not 4 verticals. So again, I'm okay with anybody who has called offense. I'm not too big on guys who are like quarterback coaches and things like that, right? They're interviewing guys like that. No. Give me a guy who's been an offensive coordinator in this league, and I promise you he will be better than Kevin Patullo.
Okay, but you got to understand, and I asked you this. I asked you who you wanted for a specific reason.
Yeah.
I put you in a corner here on purpose. You have to understand that if you get somebody and they have success, chances are they're gone in a year anyway. Okay,
that's okay.
So I'm going to give you a name because I got a name, and I'm shocked you haven't mentioned it yet. What about Cliff Kingsbury?
Okay. Yeah, what is he doing, though? Right? I think I don't know what he's doing.
No.
I heard his name early.
My question is, do you want Cliff Kingsbury as your OC? Would you want him as your OC?
Yes.
Okay. No, I mean, and I like that, but here's the thing. I mean, he's.
I don't care if they leave after a year. Like if they help you make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, have success, and look like you know how to play football and an NFL offense. That's all I need.
All right. No, I mean it's
just like I said, it's just taking a while. I think Sirianni's trying to get it right so he don't get fired.
Okay. So. Yeah, I mean, I like Kingsbury, but if he has any success at all, someone will give him a head coaching job next year.
Yeah.
And
they just haven't interviewed him. That's all. I didn't mention him because he hasn't been on the list of people they've interviewed.
No, and that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
Jim Bob Cooter's a great name. I love saying it too.
Yeah.
That shit's just funny to me.
And real quick, they should call Byron Leftwich and give him an interview too.
Wow. So. Yeah, no, that I agree.
There's no reason that he won a Super Bowl in Tampa and then got fired the next year. So and hasn't worked since in the NFL. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, and there was a lot of things that were said about him too. Just kind of even with all the winning, I don't get it.
No, so at least give him an interview. But anyway. Anybody that's done it before, I'll take. So that's our little Philadelphia Eagle take. As we like to dive into our team every now and then. But also, it's a big story in the NFL. I mean, like I said, they are kind of interviewing a lot of people, and everybody's trying to wonder why. All right. Well, that is another episode of Fanatically Speaking. Again, I am Kent, the co-host and
I
promoter.
am Logoff, the Logoff legend, hater of social media. I am the co-host and producer of the show. Thanks for listening to another episode of Fanatically Speaking. Say the same thing we say every episode. Gonna run through it again. You know us on all the socials: right. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are available anywhere all podcasts are. So Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all that noise. You know where to find us. Share it, spread the word, send the links, put it in your group chats, send it to people you know. Tell us where we messed up. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If it's on the internet, I'm not going to read it anyway, but somebody else will, and then it'll get back to me. But just go ahead and do it, damn it. Right. You ain't doing nothing else. You're on your phone all the time anyway, so you might as well send it to somebody, you jackasses.
That's right. Like you said, listen to us, and then share and tell someone else, a friend, to listen to us. Check us out. Share the love. Share the wealth. Again, tap that app on whatever device you're gonna try to listen on, and that's all I have.
Your terrible Android phones. Yeah, I'm an Apple guy.
Your flip phone.
Your flip phones, your Motorola Razr. That's it, man. That's all I got. I'm gonna stop shit talking so much.
All right, that's it.